people of the World Wide Web. So it is Cypher Sigma here, it's the weekend, and as I've said, it is a double bill. So we have two movies that we've managed to watch this week. So I went to take my dad to see The Accountant 2, or as I quite liked on the titles, it's Accountant Squared, which kind of makes a little bit of sense. This is directed by Gavin O'Connor, who did the first one. He did, I think, Warrior and a few other little things here and there. You have obviously Ben Affleck returning as Chris, the addition of John Beverill as Braxton, his brother, and then Cynthia Addie Robinson as Mary Beth, who's kind of the FBI agent that they are working with. Anybody who hasn't seen the trailer or doesn't know, essentially this is the return. This is a continuation of the first story of The Accountant, so who is Ben Affleck's character, who works with a group of kids at a neurosurgeon place, and essentially he does take out bad people and stuff like this for bad people, but then he does feed stuff to the government, and he's kind of being good but in a unlegal way. This story is him being introduced into a storyline of J.K. Simmons, who's in it for a very, very small time, of essentially he is looking for a missing child. Unfortunately, due to the initial start, he basically gets pulled into the storyline, and then he brings his brother along and they try to help out. That is the gist of it. I thought it was all right. I must admit, I will go more into it. I did enjoy the first one more than did this. But anyway, spoiler warning is up, and let's get into it. So as I said, so the story starts, you don't get to see, it's at a bingo hall, and then you get to see next door. J.K. Simmons is basically sorting out or waiting for someone. In between this, you have these little mobsters and that who look like they're trying to deal with him. And then a woman walks in. He discusses with a woman, gives her a photo and says, look, and she's like, I don't kill kids. And he's like, no, I don't. I'm trying to look for them. All hell breaks loose. Unfortunately, J.K. Simmons is killed. But on his body, he says, get the accountant. This is what is discovered at his autopsy, and this is where they bring in Mary Beth. She kind of used to work with him. He was her boss, and then she takes it on herself. She finds a lot of information where he was staying, because he's a private eye now. He was a boss, he retired and did private eye work. So she takes over it, and this is where she phones this neurosurgeon card and knows where he's listening and says, I want to talk to Christian Wolf, which is Ben Affleck's character. Ben Affleck's character then turns up, introduces himself into it, and basically says, I will help you with this. But obviously does it in his own way. So you have these confrontations of them trying to track all this information, trying to figure out what's going wrong. You find out that the family that pictured the daddy's dead. We know his dead picture's there, and it seems like the mum and son have disappeared and they don't know. And this is where the story of this follows through. As he's going along, he brings his brother in to help it, to kind of, there's certain stuff he needs help with. It's not a one-person job. Essentially, you get to see this woman who turned up at the bar, and there's this bloke that she deals with who knows he's done something wrong and she doesn't realise it. So it's all kind of weird, orchestrated, and you kind of don't know what's going on. This woman later on gets paid to try and take out Mary Beth. This doesn't happen, but she sees the photo again for the second time in the story, and it starts to have some links. This is where you start to see twists and turns, and obviously this is why the spoilers are on. So you find out that the couple that she's after, the husband is dead. The wife, she was in a car accident, and due to that she had savant syndrome, and then becomes this woman that has been hunting them. But her child, like a lot of other child, has been taken by this mobster, and that, whether it's for obvious reasons, you don't know. So, as I was saying, yeah, so the whole story obviously accumulates around this family, and obviously when you discover that the woman is obviously the mum, and then you get to see the flashbacks and the files and how they found this out. And obviously this is also, in between all of this, you have the neurology department, if you remember from first, which is a childhood friend of Christian's, and all these younger kids kind of find stuff out, and you have that kind of interlaced. Obviously when we discover the mum is who she is, and then Mary Beth gets put in hospital, this is when the brothers decide to actively go and seek out the son, because the mum's obviously doesn't realise she's got kind of amnesia and stuff like this from the car accident that you have. In between this, the bloke who kind of orchestrated or had the caused her to have the amnesia, he's the one that had the hit out on Mary Beth. So obviously he's going panicking. The lady who is the mum, who doesn't realise, she says essentially that someone intervenes, basically saying about the accountant Christian Wolf, and that obviously it was, she wasn't going to jeopardise herself, which makes total sense. This then leads the main bad guy to get his accomplice and just go, look, there's all these kids in this like Mexico whole time. I want you to kill them all, get rid of them. I want no evidence. So this is where Christian and Braxton obviously get in the car and drive all the way down to Mexico, and there's a big gun shootout, and they rescue to save the kids, and as lo and behold, they manage to save the kids at the very end of it. At the end of very fight, there's a few injuries here and there. What then happens is the neurology department, so these people that are helping Christian, Layla, the woman, know that basically she was set up, and this guy is a bloke. Then she basically goes and manages to get her revenge on him, and then you have Braxton and Christian in his school bus driving all his kids back, and then when Braxton tells you to stop and he pulls out and there's this cat and it's relevant to a story within it. He then decides that he needs to take these kids home, and then this is when kind of the story flips, because then you find out that that kid isn't going back to his mum, and obviously his dad's dead. He will go back to this new like neurology place to stay with them, and he will be one of these kids. Whether he helps out or not, you don't know, and that's literally the end of it. I don't believe there are any after credit scenes or something. So what did I think? So it was all right. It was, as I say, I very much enjoyed the first movie better than this one. The first half is very slow paced. Obviously there are a lot of elements there that if you've seen movies, you kind of get a grasp of something's going on. It just doesn't quite lock into place, and I thought the initial concept of it, but it's not your traditional story. As I say, the family is not reunited. This is a family that, unfortunately, due to the life that they've had to deal with, have been ripped apart. The dad has been killed. The mum has been kind of taken on, branded. She tries to escape, and then obviously due to this then becomes a killer and doesn't remember or want anything to do with the family, and basically their child is then left alive. Alive and alone, and obviously due to Christian's interaction with him, and that he now has a place to stay. I didn't mind bringing Braxton into this and having that development. They were all right across the board. As I say, it didn't quite have the finesse of the first one, because there was like a bigger kind of accounting mystery and stuff like this. There are bits that they try to feed into this one, but I don't think it quite works as much or as impactful as the first movie was. But development of the character, I think that worked quite well, and that is, Christian Wolf's character, or Ben Affleck, and how he relates to his brother. There is progression within that. Very much feels of watching in the end that this probably would have been better as a TV series, and I only found out reading afterwards that there was planned that this might be a TV series or a sequel movie, and it ended up being a sequel movie. It is what it is. I quite like the fact they bring a brother in, and the brother's kind of a little bit like him, is why it's called The Accountant 2, but the 2 is little, so it's squared, so there's 2 of them. I thought that was very clever as well. But yeah, I will rate this movie 5.6 out of 10. I say it's all right. It's not as good as the first movie. It has a few good elements. It's enjoyable for just over 2 hours, and there is some good action stuff. But I've been Cypher Screen Time. Have you seen The Accountant 2? Let me know your thoughts and feelings in the comments down below, and I shall see you in the next one.